Not the kind of scream that fades into the background noise of a city, but a piercing, desperate cry that sliced through the busy afternoon like a knife. On the corner of 7th and Ashwood, people froze mid-step, eyes searching for the source. A female police officer, Officer Claire Matthews, stumbled backward as a man lunged at her with a knife. Her hand was reaching for her weapon, but the attacker was too close, too fast. For a split second, it looked like this would be the end. But then, from the shadows of an alley where no one ever looked twice, he moved. Marcus was a man most people passed without a glance. To the city, he was invisibly a homeless drifter who slept beneath bridges and collected spare change with a coffee-stained paper cup. His clothes were torn, his hair long and tangled, his life a string of forgotten days. Yet Marcus noticed everything. When you live on the streets, survival sharpens your senses. You learn to read body language, to detect danger before others even sense it. And that day, those instincts became something more. In an instant, Marcus hurled himself forward. With a force that surprised even him, he tackled the knife-wielding man to the ground. The weapon clattered across the pavement, spinning out of reach. People gasped, some pulling out phones to record, others too stunned to move. Claire, regaining her footing, quickly subdued the attacker with practiced precision, slapping handcuffs on his wrists. Her chest rose and fell rapidly, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Then, she looked at Marcus. His face was bruised, his hands trembling from the scuffle, yet his eyes were steady, almost calm. For a long, awkward moment, there was silence between them. He had saved her life. A man the world had chosen not to see had seen what no one else did and acted. Claire caught her breath and said softly, "You just saved me." But Marcus only shrugged. Just did what needed to be done. The story could have ended there, just another news headline, just another viral video. But for Claire, it was only the beginning. She couldn't shake the image of Marcus, a man discarded by society, yet carrying courage greater than most. She wanted to thank him properly, but when she returned to the alley the next day, he was gone. Finding him became her quiet mission. She checked shelters, asked street vendors, and even walked routes where homeless camps stood. Days turned into weeks. Each time she asked about Marcus, people said the same thing. "Yeah, we know him. Quiet guy. Keeps to himself. Doesn't cause trouble." Yet no one knew where he truly belonged. One cold evening, Claire finally spotted him sitting on a park bench, shoulders hunched against the wind. She approached slowly, not wanting to startle him. "You vanished on me," she said, her voice light but carrying warmth. Marcus glanced up. "Didn't figure you'd be looking for me. People don't usually." But Claire wasn't people. She had been given a second chance at life because of him, and she wasn't about to let that debt vanish into the wind. She sat beside him, learning little by little about his story. Marcus had once been a soldier. He had returned home carrying scars no one could see, fighting battles in his mind that never ended. With no family left and no support system, he had drifted, eventually ending up on the streets. Every day was a challenge of finding food, shelter, safety from those who preyed on the vulnerable. Yet even in his lowest moments, Marcus still had that instinct to protect. That's what had pushed him forward when he saw her in danger. The days that followed weren't easy. Claire faced criticism from colleagues who didn't understand why she was spending time with a hobo. They warned her it wasn't her responsibility, that she'd only get hurt trying to help someone who didn't want saving. Marcus, too, resisted. He was proud, unwilling to accept charity. But slowly, a fragile trust formed. There were challenges at every turn. The paperwork and bureaucracy of the city made it nearly impossible to get him proper housing. Shelters were overcrowded, veterans programs were backlogged, and everywhere they turned, doors seemed to close. Marcus himself sometimes walked away, disappearing for days when the weight of it all became too much. Yet Claire never gave up. She kept reminding him of the man she saw that day, the man who saved her, the man who still had value, worth, and dignity. She even pulled strings at her department to connect him with a rehabilitation program for veterans, convincing her superiors to make an exception. It was a long road. Some nights Marcus slipped back into old habits, doubting himself, doubting that life could be different. But every time, Claire was there to remind him. Not as a cop. Not out of pity. But as a human being who owed him her life, and who now wanted to help him rebuild his. Months later, Marcus stood in front of a small crowd at a community center. His hair was trimmed, his clothes clean, though the journey etched lines of hardship across his face. He had been asked to speak about courage, about second chances. His voice trembled at first, but then grew stronger. I was invisible, he admitted. People walked past me every day like I didn't exist. And maybe part of me believed I didn't. But that one moment, when I acted, someone finally saw me. Someone reminded me I still mattered. The room fell silent. Even hardened officers wiped their eyes. Claire sat in the front row, pride shining in her gaze. To her, Marcus wasn't just the man who saved her life. He was proof that courage doesn't always wear a uniform, and that sometimes the people we overlook carry the greatest strength of all. The shocking incident on that city street had begun as a moment of danger, but it unfolded into something far greater, a story of redemption, humanity, and hope. The lesson was clear: never underestimate the person you walk past. Behind every face, no matter how broken or forgotten, there is a story. And sometimes, there is a hero.